Well, welcome to another of our In Conversation series of videos, where I've got the pleasure of interviewing all of my co-authors for the Good Humanities series, the years 7, 8 and 9 humanities textbooks. Today I have with me one of Australian education's rising stars, Danielle O'Leary, who is the main geography co-author for the texts, who I've never met in person. So there you go. This is, we've been remote working together for quite a few years now.
Just shows that it works.
That's right. So tell me about this award that you won recently.
Oh, it was very nice. Catherine, our head of content and learning, nominated me and put in a really nice application, and yeah, I got on the list. So that's really exciting. It's nice to be, I think teachers a lot of the time don't really get any recognition, and you go have a lot of hard work, and students sort of thank you for your time, and you sort of leave the classroom and that's kind of the end of your day. So it's nice to have someone actually say, hey, I recognize you and you're doing okay. So yeah, it was really nice. Yeah,
we don't get quite as many awards seasons as the celebrities do we?
No.
So I'm interested to know how you became involved in the project in the first place.
Yeah, well, I've been involved in doing some conferences for GTAV, so the Geography Teachers Association, and I did a conference, I think it was for the VCE conference, with a colleague of mine talking about Year 10 and how we incorporate skills into our day-to-day lessons, and how our content is really the driver for the skills that we teach. And from that, Catherine contacted me and asked if I wanted to be involved in a textbook series. And my initial reaction sort of like, oh, okay, well, I'm really talking about skills, and textbooks are a lot about content. But when she described this book to me and how she really wanted to, change the tune of what a textbook looked like and how it read, it was really exciting to me. So I thought, yeah, why not? Let's give it a go.
Yeah, it's similar to, I was initially not that excited because I'd seen like 4 or 5 different textbooks, and I was like, they're all the same. Do we really need another one going over the exact same? But they were quite open to doing something a bit different, which was great.
Yeah.
So speaking of difference, I'm interested to know your thoughts on how you think geography pedagogy has changed. So you're saying that typically texts are just quite text heavy, text dense.
Yeah.
Now, flicking through the pages of this recently printed book, I noticed that that's not really the case for us. So how do you think geography pedagogy, the way that geography is taught, has changed, or how it, like best practice? I'm not saying that all teachers do this, but like the best geography teaching, how's it changed over the years?
Yeah, I think, you think back to when you're at school, or even when your parents were at school, and you think geography was really about rote. How many countries could you memorize? Where are those countries? What are their capitals? What are the colors of their flags? Looking at the Olympic opening ceremony, knowing every single flag from their country. I'm not saying that knowledge isn't useful in some way, but it's kind of like when you're going to need to know the capital of some random country in a conversation in day-to-day life. And I think that's really what the kids are asking us these days. Why do I need to know this? When am I going to use this? And getting them just to rote learn countries is, I ask myself that question. Well, when are you going to need to know every single country in Africa? I don't know the placement of every single country in Africa, and I teach geography. So I think it's that moving away from that being impressed by knowledge and recall, and actually thinking, well, what skills do we need these kids to know in order to achieve in life? And things like, using geography, using history to develop critical thinking skills, or setting goals, being compassionate global citizens, especially in today's society. The kids are going to climate rallies and things like that. Do they actually know what climate change is, or are they just going because it's a revolution? So actually getting them to understand the world around them, and then through that they can learn countries and capitals and flags, because maybe we're studying Nigeria, or maybe we're studying Jamaica or whatever, and so they naturally learn those foundational rote learning kind of topics through the skills and application, which humanities allows. It's one of the only subjects that you really need to understand everything else before you understand the nitty-gritty theory, because that's how humanity works in a way.
Right. Yeah, I think when I tell people I'm a geography teacher, they think everybody initially assumes it's the blue category in the
Yeah.
Trivial Pursuit. You know, it's like, okay, so you know the longest river, you know the capital, capital cities. Oh, mate,
Nah.
that's crazy. And you know, I don't know who said it, but like, there's not really that much point getting students to memorize things that they can find out on their phone in like 5 seconds.
Exactly. Like instantaneously, you know, if they need to go somewhere they haven't been before, they're not going to get out the Melways and, you know, memorize the route like we used to. They just jump in Siri and it tells you where to go. But that's what geography is now, teaching them how to use those technologies well. Because, you know, it's all about teaching towards the future. And I think just rote learning countries, like open a book, look it up on your phone. Like you've always got your phone with you, information's with you wherever you go. But the way you apply that is not, you know, accessed as easily.
Yeah, nice. So skills being, you know, I know there's been a big swing in education in general from heaps and heaps of content to skills. When people open our book, how are they going to see, what do we physically see in terms of how you teach the student skills rather than just getting them to remember heaps of text?
Yeah, well, I think for me, I never used textbooks. I never used textbooks as a teacher. And it's kind of ironic that I'm writing a textbook when I never used textbooks. And I think that's the reason why I was so interested in writing a book, is because why don't I use textbooks? What's that, you know, why is that? And to me, it's because they're just so bulky. They're so heavy. There's something that a kid lugs from class to class. You know, some teachers use them like a Bible. Some teachers look at them as a, you know, something, a part of a book list. And it's sort of, they should really be an asset to your classroom. They should be something that you can grab hold of and open, and it's easy to read, it's useful, it helps you become a better teacher, it helps your kids learn better, essentially, more easily. And so to me, you know, other textbooks that I've used in the past just haven't fit that bill. Whereas here, you know, we're looking more at teaching the kids skills that from all the way from those foundational skills where, you know, basic mapping, you know, drawing a border on a map, having a legend to actually know what things mean, all the way to, you know, critical thinking, high level skills. And it really takes away from just a textbook being, like we said before, a textbook, you know, where it's just got a lot of text in a book, to actually helping you identify what the content is and using that as context to teach skills. So the skills should really be the primary focus, which is what we've done throughout this book. And we've just grabbed the curriculum and said, hey, this is a really good opportunity to learn about mapping because we're learning about bushfires. Or, hey, COVID-19 is going on at the moment. That's part of our sort of content and understanding how humans connect and how places are now changing and virtual worlds are changing. Let's use that as a way of having a conversation and understanding and reflecting, rather than just, what is COVID-19? Why did we call it this? Who, what, why, where, how? We're actually investigating and understanding and applying knowledge. And so it's pretty cool that a book can sort of do that. And yeah.
Nice. So in an earlier conversation we had, you said that you find getting out of the classroom really important when you're teaching geography. So what kind of things are we going to see in this book that help teachers and students to get out of the classroom, get into the geography as in the outside world? Like,
yeah,
what kind of activities we're talking about here?
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, like, you know, if you're an English teacher, you don't just teach kids how to write an essay. They write an essay. If you're a maths teacher, you don't just teach them all the equations and then that's it. You actually teach them the equations and then they have to solve problems. If you're a PE teacher, you don't teach them the rules and then don't play a game. You go out and play a game. So in geography, or history, why do we just teach them the theory and then close the book? So to me, geography is, I mean, you can have geography inside in terms of, you know, human connections and blah, blah, blah. But the vast majority of geography is happening outside of the classroom. So how the kids got to school that day, all the way to international travel and trade and, you know, everything that goes with what geography is. And so with this book, I've designed questions and text which encourages kids to actually get outside. Like, you know, we're in year 7 looking at water in the world. How can you look at water from inside a classroom except looking at a drink bottle, you know, or looking at the weather out through the window? Why not actually go outside and do a sketch or run around the school and take photos of every single way that water can move throughout the school? And so the questions sort of, I guess, push teachers out of their comfort zone a little bit and say, hey, yes, you can say, where does water come from? Draw the water cycle. But you can also say, hey, let's just spend 10 minutes running around, having a look at different things and being that teacher that everyone looks at and goes, oh, you know, they're being interactive again.
Yeah, I took all the year 7s to the Western water treatment plant a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it took a few days to get the smell out of our clothes. The students really loved it, but the teachers are like, no other teacher ever wanted to volunteer to come on that excursion again.
Yeah, well, I mean, fieldwork, you know, especially working towards VCE, fieldwork is such a huge integral part of geography in terms of being a science, researching. So why not get year 7s out doing fieldwork and writing fieldwork reports and actually getting a research question, having to use reliable sources, you know, investigating questions that they're actually interested in and they want to know the answer to, and collaborating. So yeah, that's sort of what it's all about for me in terms of my pedagogy, which I've, I guess, sort of inflicted upon this book. But yeah, really going outside and being a geographer rather than just being a student who studies geography.
Yeah, nice. Into the nitty gritty, it's a pain to change textbooks. I know that a lot of schools spend quite a bit of time developing their own resources around textbooks, as you've mentioned to me before. So I guess my question is, you know, there's quite a bit of inertia with an existing text. And we both acknowledged that we didn't want to work on a textbook that was exactly the same as the other 4 or 5 out there from the other big publishers.
Yeah.
We can never call ourselves a big publisher, seeing our publishing company only started like a few months ago. So I guess my question is, what makes the textbook different enough to make people want to change? I mean, I know you've been a head of faculty before, and having to manage teachers through that process of going through a new text, developing their own resources, like, why?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. Like, we looked at changing textbooks multiple times, and you sort of go through that sort of, I guess, voting process where, you know, you really kind of flick through the textbook and look at the pretty pictures and read the text, read the questions. Is it any different? Is it worthwhile, you know, having to go through the whole system, change your unit plans, change your assessment? Like, it's a big deal. But what happens if there was a textbook that kind of already had all that done for you? And I think that's what we've done here, where yes, you'll need to change your book lists, but bar that, everything else is available. We've created a book that has you know, really integral skills at the basis of, you know, both geography and history. It's got, you know, getting your kids outside, actually integrating in their learning. But then along with that, there's answers to the book, there's handouts, there's quizzes, there's worksheets with answers, there's assignments. Like, there's even unit plans that are all incorporated in how to use that book lesson by lesson. So I really feel like the work's kind of done. And so your job is to really go in and be that person that sparks passion in the kids and sparks their interest and gets the kids engaged in the learning, because the hard work of the administration side is sort of there for you, especially in these COVID times where anyone needs to be an expert instantly. Parents need to be able to teach, you know, year 11 specialist maths, whatever. You need something that you can just be confident that, you know, the kid's going to be able to take it home and progress with their learning, progress with their skills. And it's not just busy work that, you know, you're just hoping for the best. It's actually achievable and something that you'll see results from in terms of parents being able to get involved and students being able to direct their own learning.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, you touched on something interesting there. I discovered, even though, you know, if you listen to the press, you'd think that it's maths and science that has the most out-of-field teachers, but actually in Australia, geography is the subject most commonly taught by people who have no training in it.
Yeah.
I know that's the case for myself. I had to go back and do one subject through Open University. Given that there's so many new to the field, or I'm going to take geography once and that's it, I think for those teachers, a textbook's probably quite an important resource. It's okay for us who've been teaching geography for 5-10 years, whatever.
Yeah.
So what kind of support in that book to assist those out of field and I'm only doing it for 6 months teachers, of which there are so many?
Yeah, there it is. And I mean, I guess because we are a humanities subject, it tends to, everyone has experience in being a human. So you have access to bits and pieces of the curriculum and bits and pieces of the skills and knowledge. But actually teaching that is a different level altogether. And you find that, if you're a non-specialist teacher in geography or history, you're fine until the kids ask you a question that's a little bit out of the blue. And then all of a sudden it really stumps you and you have to, okay, why don't we all research that together kind of response. And so this book really allows you to be in control and actually have the kids be in control of their learning. So through the learning ladder, which you've designed, it allows the kids to constantly formatively assess themselves in terms of how their skills are developing. But then we actually have a whole chapter, a how-to chapter. So if the kids ask you a tricky question on how to make a particular graph, or what's an overlay map, or how to use this piece of spatial technology, it's actually all laid out there step by step. So either you can refer the kids onto that chapter if they're learning from home, so they're in control of that, or you can use that as an idea of where to launch off, I guess, in terms of your own professional development. Then we also have things like audio hits. So for each spread, we've gone through and discussed how you can use those spreads, things that you might want to look up in advance if you're not experienced in that piece of skill, that content or skill that we're focusing on. So there's lots of sort of layers, I guess, to sort of help you before you actually step foot in the classroom to feel confident in your own knowledge and your own skill set in order to, provide these kids with the best opportunities to succeed.
So the audio hits, I don't know of every single textbook in the universe, but I've certainly never heard of that. So can you walk me through, is that just like a little audio clip of you talking about what you could do?
Yeah, I guess it's like a mini podcast
Cool.
with myself. I'm not saying that I'm an expert and you should follow exactly what I say in every single audio hit podcast. But it's sort of, if you're looking at a page and you're just thinking, I have no idea what a biome is and how to incorporate that into, some interactive, class discussions or, anything outside of just a worksheet, then, it might be 3 to 5 minutes where you can just chuck your headphones in before morning briefing and just feel a little bit more confident going, oh yeah, I could do this activity, or Danielle says this might work, and you can just go in and it gives you a bit more confidence, I guess, to experiment and know that some of these activities have worked in my classroom with my kids in the past, and so you just can give that a go rather than opening a book saying, got big high hopes that you don't really know what's going on.
Well, I do know a number of out-of-field geography teachers who have been like, as long as I'm one chapter ahead of the students, I'll be fine. Yeah. It's interesting.
Sometimes doesn't work if they're 3 chapters ahead of you.
The idea of having all geography skills taught in one chapter at the end is something that, other textbooks that I've seen, they'll be like, if you happen to do that mini chapter if you do that spread of that unit, then you'll learn that mapping skill. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's luck of the draw.
Yeah. And I find that skills chapters of other books as well are still content based. If you want to know how to graph something, it'll still be like, hey, read about graphing. But we're not actually going to tell you how to draw a graph. We're just going to teach you about every single graph type or every single map type. We're not going to teach you how to actually draw that. And so that's sort of what we're after. I mean, at the end of the day, if, your Year 12 student walks out and they don't know the name of every single graph in the world, whoop-de-doo. But if they walk out and they actually know how to collect reliable data, sort through that and actually display it in a way that's, visually easy to understand and they understand it and apply that knowledge, that's a good student. So I guess that's what we're trying to create and move away from that, context. side of things, or content, sorry, side of things.
So you teach VCE geography, or have done quite a bit?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so we don't have it at our school. I'm interested to know, is there a big difference in the 7 to 10 curriculum compared to what kids need to know and be able to do? I'm assuming the reason why you focus on skills is because in VCE geography, you're going to be learning different content anyway. So what can you carry over from your earlier years is the skills, right? So like, how does your approach that you've used in the book scaffold students to succeed in those senior years?
Yeah, well, I guess my approach, VCE is my sort of dominant area of teaching. So that's sort of where my focus is. And so when I teach the junior, in my context, the junior year, 7 to 10, I teach them with the idea that they're all going to do VCE geography. Whether they do or not is a different story, but the whole idea, you know, I guess there are key differences in the curriculum, and that makes it a little bit tricky. Even things like, you know, in geography, in VCE, we have different key concepts. We don't use spices. There is some overlap, but it's not the same. So even that is sort of silly in itself. But I guess they're a little bit more foundational. So
yeah, I'm not a huge fan of spices. I looked at the VCE geography curriculum, and the concepts that are used in VCE seem much more logical and
and they're more fluid in the way that you talk as well. And so I find, you know, even introducing those concepts, you know, down the chain helps get to VCE. But when you do get to VCE, you know, the study design, there's a double-sided page of skills that the kids need to know. And they outline, you know, they have their little pretty grid, which says, you know, in unit 1, you could teach these skills, or in unit 4, you could teach these skills. But there's no way, if you have a student, and a lot of them do, just come in at unit 3 and 4, having not done geography since, say, year 9, there's no way you can teach double-sided page of skills in a year, in addition to the content, which obviously with the VCE, you know, assessment-driven curriculum, you have to teach, and you have to teach it in a content-driven way, purely based on the system. So you really need those junior years for them to come up and know all the skills and to be confident in those skills and applying those skills. So when you teach them the new content context, it's really clear and easy, and all they have to do is learn about, you know, deforestation in Borneo or melting glaciers in Greenland, and they can do that because they know how to read a map and they know how to create a graph and whatever. So yeah, it's VCE drives what I've done in this book, I guess, in terms of throwing little bits and pieces in along the way, where it's like, hey, I guess a little carrot.
Yeah, nice.
You know, you're interested in this, do VCE geography.
Get those numbers out and have them skilled when they get there. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So one thing that definitely makes our book different is the learning ladders. Now, I sort of wrote the history one, and then you had a look at it and wrote a geography one. I was really impressed that you were able to do that, because I worked at a research centre that developed this method of writing them, and I reckon I'd worked there for like 2 years before I even understood what the research centre I worked at did. I was just like an admin person. So I guess my question is, what's different about the way that the learning ladder is written compared to other rubrics that you've seen? I'll give you an example. Performance descriptors that are used at VCE, quite generic.
Vague.
So what's the difference between the learning ladder that you've written for the geography books compared to other pretender rubrics that you've seen around the traps?
Yeah, well, I guess to begin with, we're kind of the only textbook that has a rubric. Right. You know, every other book is just kind of like, hey, here's text and here's questions. The end. Whereas I guess
give it 3 years and they'll all be copying out.
Yeah. Well, okay, but you know,
yeah.
I guess for me, the learning ladder in itself, you know, you said I sort of picked it up quite quickly. I kind of do that without having necessarily putting it in a learning ladder context. Right. So yeah, the idea of, you know, looking at those foundational skills and then, you know, building your way up and, you know, to those really high level sophisticated skills just makes sense in my mind. But then the way that you build that up is the hardest point. You know, rubric in the past is like, they have developed basic skills. They have now developed sophisticated skills. What on earth is a sophisticated skill?
Yes.
You know, so it's that kind of idea of breaking it down where at a base level, all I want them to be able to do is identify what green represents on a map, read a legend. Then at the next level, you know, okay, now we know that green means, I don't know, population is under 50. Now, why is the population under 50? And actually thinking about that in the context of the content. Then next, maybe they need to describe other patterns that they see on the map. So actually giving you reasons for why they've moved up to the next level in terms of sophistication. What is our criteria for them to show what they know and show what they understand and show what they've learnt? And that's what I was talking about before in terms of the kids being able to constantly formatively assess themselves. This is the perfect opportunity to do that, especially in a subject where we tend to, you know, get hit from behind with, you know, small timetable allocations, sport days, you know.
Don't get me started on sports days.
Yeah, and I mean, all very valid, all very worthwhile things, but it does mean, you know, I've had times where I've only taught my year sevens potentially, I don't know, 5-6 times in a term. How can you get through chapters and chapters of content with that, you know, behind you? And I guess this kind of gives you an idea of, okay, well, they finished year 7 at a step 3. That gives us now a basis for us to work in year 8. And it's just that constant, you know, year by year, we're working on the same skills. It's just different content. And so that idea of the learning ladder helps you with that.
You touched on something there about how, like, at the lowest level, just be like, what does green mean on a map? But I think what's quite useful with our progressions is that the curriculum, because it's norm reference, where it says, oh, year 7s should be at this level because they were manufactured 11 years ago, whatever. Whereas I think our learning ladder actually, you know, if you've ever taught any year 7, 8, 9 or 10 class, you know that the ability gap is huge. And so starting at the expected even year 6 level is too difficult for quite a few students, isn't it?
Yeah, and I guess it kind of does the differentiating for you a little bit in terms of, you know, on each page there's a step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and it allows the kids to be like, hey, I know that for this skill, I really need to be working towards a step 3. So I'm going to really do the step 1 and 2 questions and master those. And I'm going to give step 3 a go. And it encourages them to sort of challenge themselves. But it also extends the students that need extending. So when you're sitting there as a non-specialist teacher and you've got a student in your year 10 class who's working at maybe a first year uni level, they are like up there, they know exactly what they're doing. You can be like, hey, skip straight to step 5 and, you know, extend yourself there. And it saves you from thinking, oh, you know, what am I going to actually do to help, you know, extend this child? And you can still have the kids in the same class working on step 1. So it allows you to really, you know, work on the same skill, but at different levels and know how they're achieving. Parent-teacher interviews, being able to say, hey, they're achieving this step. Like, how cool would that be? Rather than saying, hey, your kid got an A+ on this random test that's all rote learnt. They can memorize stuff. Well done. But can they actually do the stuff that they've memorized? And that these letters actually sort of help you with that.
Yeah, right. I think it's, there's a lot more useful information for parents, teachers and students about, like, there's no judgment either, you know, it's just like, no, you can do this
themselves. You can just say, like, hey, complete the questions in the learning ladder, and they go off and do it themselves. Like, it doesn't necessarily, it can be self-driven. It can be challenging. You can push them, but it doesn't need to be like, hey, Tommy, do step 1. You know.
When I first asked students to do that, I was quite cynical that they would purposely choose something easy because, you know, sitting here, you know, you hear there's a moral panic every 5 seconds about how teenagers are lazy, but actually they want to do something that's at their level. And I've been surprised at students choosing to do stuff that is actually at their level and a little bit more challenging.
And like, students want to succeed, you know, it's human nature to want to be good at something and to be driven. You know, in my classroom looks like a primary school classroom in the sense that my kids' work is all over the wall. We have displays, we have, you know, someone finds an interesting piece of data, bam, it's on the wall. Someone finds an interesting fact from the news on the weekend, bam, it's on the wall. And, you know, the kids that you wouldn't expect, the real cool, sporty kids that, you know, just rock into class, feet up on the table, you know, whatever. They do a poster that they're proud of and it goes up on the wall. It changes their life. You know, they get really upset if something happens to that poster, it gets taken down. It's the same with their work. If you say, hey, I'm giving you control of your learning, I want you to do the questions that are going to challenge you, that, you know, you might be surprised by what some of the kids that you don't expect do.
Awesome. One last question with no notice. I'm interested in geography. I'm not sure how popular it is in the country as a whole, but certainly at the schools I've taught at, it sort of hasn't been that popular.
Yeah.
There's this understanding that people who, like, if you do business studies in year 12, then you're going to be running a Fortune 500 company or some whatever. But my gut feeling, considering the environmental challenges that we're facing, and with, you know, I feel like there's quite a bit of employment growth in the geography space. Is that well-founded?
I mean, that's, I guess the common misconception is that geography isn't a job and history isn't a job, whereas, you know, business management, I guess, is a job. But, you know, just because you're doing legal studies doesn't mean you're going to be a lawyer. I think it's the idea of you're doing a subject because A, you enjoy it. I mean, that to me is the crux of school. You know, you do what you enjoy and what sparks passion in you, and that in itself will create learning. But geography and history and humanities as a whole makes you so much more employable in their skill base, which is what we're talking about. You know, understanding things like climate change and, you know, Black Lives Matter, the actual context behind that and the history of that makes you a stronger human, and it makes you more able to communicate and be part of your community. That to me is a much more employable skill than, you know, being able to rote learn off, you know, whatever. And so I guess it's that sort of misconception of, you know, if you do VCE geography, you must go on and do an arts degree, and there's no jobs in art degrees. But, you know, what you do and what you enjoy and the skills and the way that you become a better human as a result of these subjects and the critical thinking that you develop is, you know, you could be anything. You could be anything you want. I've chosen to be a geography teacher to sort of pass on that passion, I guess. But, you know, you could be the president of the United States and have these really foundational VCE geography history context and be a better person for it. You could be the CEO of a major economics company and be the same. You know, it doesn't matter what you are or what you want to be. It sort of helps you. And that's sort of what I pitch to my kids when they're picking VCE geography. I'm like, you might not go off and do, you know, geography at university, but hopefully when you have to go off and write a report, you think, hey, I did a fieldwork report in VCE geography, that might help. Or, oh, once we did this, looking at these maps, and now I can actually understand this. And, oh, in VCE history, I learned about how they did this. Probably shouldn't do that. Or now this is repeating or whatever. And you actually, you know, you can live your life to a high degree, I guess. Holding humanities to a high power here.
I would definitely be keen to be a VCE student in your geography class. Thank you so much for our discussion today. I have learned a lot, and I think that you've touched on quite a few of the differences about what we've been able to produce, which has finally come off the printing.
Yes, super excited.
Yesterday, whatever. So thank you so much for your time. And
no worries.
Awesome. Go geography.
To, you know, be in everyone's classrooms through writing.
Yay. And in the audio hits for the teachers.
Yes, that's right. You'll hear my voice over and over.
Yay. Thanks, Danielle. See you later.
See you later.